All right, I've got another day jam-packed with Airdrop Alpha for you. Some good stuff and some not so good stuff. So let's start off with the big story from today, which is that EasyETH, the liquid restake token from Renzo, depegged significantly last night. So as you can see on this chart here, this is the price chart comparing EasyETH from Renzo to just regular old wrapped ETH. And if we go back in time, you can see that it was hovering pretty steadily at that 1-to-1 peg. But last night, it sold off significantly. There was a lot of sell pressure causing this crazy depeg right here. And if I zoom out a bunch, you can see that it wicked down really low to like 0.2 or something like that. However, that really low wick was only on actually some really low liquidity pools, so it wasn't actually quite that bad. Now, the issue with this is that if you were using leverage on Renzo's EasyETH, and I was, and I've spoken about this on the channel previously, then it was possible to get liquidated as a result of this depeg event, because for about 60 to 90 minutes, it was a pretty bad depeg. It's since come back a little bit, but then today it's actually started going back down again. So right now it's currently at 0.96. And so what that means is if you go to exchange your EasyETH for just regular wrapped ETH, you're only going to get about 96% of the value of it. So you're losing about 4% right now. Now let's talk about why this happened. Why did it depeg like this and sell off? And then we'll talk about the liquidations as well. So basically there's two main reasons why this depegged. So for starters, yesterday released the details of the tokenomics, the distribution, the amount going to the airdrop, and the amount going to the team, as well as the Binance launch pool. And the TLDR is that largely speaking, people weren't happy with the allocations that were presented. They weren't happy with the way that they were presented because Renzo made some ridiculous charts. And as a result of all of that, people started selling their EasyETH thinking that they could get out and get a higher yield somewhere else with their capital. But the issue is, since Renzo doesn't actually have unstaking natively enabled, the only way to get out is to sell it. And if a bunch of people start selling all at the same time in a panic, that's what causes this kind of depeg event. Now, there's actually a good thread by OX Tommy outlining exactly how this all went down and why it happened. And in terms of the actual net impacts of this, unfortunately, people that were using leverage at too high of a level got liquidated. So there was a bunch of liquidations that happened yesterday as a result of this. Now, I did get lucky with my position on Ironclad Finance. I think when all of this started, the health of my loan was at something like 1.3, and then I was at my computer as it was happening, so I was able to add more collateral or reduce the value of the loan in order to keep it healthy. It did get close at one point though, and I know that a lot of people actually suffered a liquidation event as a result of this. And for anybody that did get liquidated as a result of this, if it was on Ironclad or Ionic or Sturdy or some other platform elsewhere, I'm sorry that this happened. I know I've shared my strategies before on this channel for using leverage with the Renzo token EasyETH, and I used it on the Mode L2 using Ironclad Finance as a part of my max degen 20-for-1 airdrop strategy. Now, I did go back and take a look at that video. In the first 30 seconds, literally all I talked about was how risky this was. And I did break down along the way at each step where I talked about using leverage, how there are risks associated with this. There's smart contract risks and there's liquidation risks when you're using leverage. So I hope that people managed to keep their loan values in a healthy range and that you were able to escape from the situation without suffering any massive losses. Now, in terms of next steps moving forward, we have actually heard nothing from Renzo over the last 12 hours. They haven't actually released any announcements, any acknowledgements, and honestly, that is a pretty massive red flag in my opinion. They did say that they are working on enabling withdrawals, so they're doing some contract audits, but some of these audits aren't even going to be completed until the end of May, so it doesn't look like the actual native unstaking for Renzo is going to happen anytime soon. And in terms of the negative response to the actual breakdown of the Renzo tokenomics in the airdrop allocation, they haven't acknowledged any of that either. There's been no posts on their Twitter, so I think that Renzo shot themselves in the foot with their terrible tokenomics display, and also the breakdown of it, I guess, wasn't ideal. And then the fact that they've just completely bungled the communications during this situation is not a good sign. Now, in terms of what you can do moving forward and what I'm planning on doing, they did confirm on Twitter this morning, early in the morning at 1 a.m., that if you sell your EasyETH before the April 26th snapshot, you will still be eligible based on the Easy Points balance in your wallet. So the points that you have accumulated will still be relevant for this airdrop, whether or not you decide to keep your EasyETH or if you want to sell it. And that is very good because previously they had suggested that anybody who sold those holdings before the snapshot would not be eligible. So they've changed their tune on that. Now, in terms of what I am doing, I have actually increased the loan health of my position on Ironclad significantly. So now my health factor is over 4. I've added some extra collateral and I've reduced the amount that I've borrowed. In terms of the Easy ETH that I currently hold, I don't really want to take a 4% haircut by swapping out of it to ETH at this point. I do personally have quite a high risk tolerance and I only have about 4 ETH worth of exposure to Renzo at this point. So I'm willing to see how this one plays out. But if the peg gets restored, I might actually consider taking some of that off the table and rotating it into other LRTs like EtherFi, which has had absolutely no issues through this. Now, if you decide that you want to exit all of your Renzo or Easy ETH positions, you can currently do so. You will take a bit of a haircut on that because it has depegged. And of course, that has to be your decision in terms of how you want to play this. I am personally taking a risk by keeping my Easy ETH because if there is actually a more significant depeg and sort of a stampede of people running for the exits, then at that point, I wouldn't even be able to probably get 96 cents on the dollar. Anyways, so that is the situation with Renzo. We are still waiting on updates from them. I'm shocked that they haven't actually posted anything acknowledging the situation or talking about what they are going to do to make it better. And if you are looking for an alternative, obviously we've got EtherFi. EtherFi is different because they've had withdrawals enabled since day one. They have a lot more liquidity and their peg has been a lot more stable. However, this is a good moment to actually remember that all of these things that we're doing to farm airdrops have risks associated with them. Every time I say there's liquidation risk, there's smart contract risk, it's kind of abstract and you don't really necessarily think about what that actually means. But in practice, when a token that we're using in DeFi depegs like this, it can cause real world impacts like liquidations if you're not careful, and you never know what is going to happen. Now, luckily up until this point, there's actually been no rug of liquid restate tokens, no protocol smart contract that has had bugs in it or been hacked. But this type of depegging and liquidation event is something to take seriously. And I know I say it every time that I talk about this, but this actually really just drives it home. Anyways, let's move on now to some more positive airdrop news, some airdrops that came in and some opportunities that you have to earn more airdrops moving forward. So a couple of random meme coin airdrops. If you owned a Solana Saga phone, you got an airdrop today that was worth over $70, it looks like. So go and check your Solana wallet. Also, if you completed that Galaxy campaign for Puff that I shared a week or two ago, there was a raffle and a bunch of wallets got a small amount of Puff today, 101 Puff tokens. So you can check to see if you got that tiny allocation from Puff today. And shout out to Chanwise, who's one of the mods in my Discord, for sharing both of these things. Another airdrop that came through today in the Bitcoin ecosystem was for Runestone holders who got the DOG token. And as of the time of this recording, those airdrops were worth several thousands of dollars. So anyone that has been holding one of the Runestones has actually done quite well to this point. Well, unless I guess you bought it at the absolute peak, but that's a separate story altogether. And another airdrop within the Bitcoin ecosystem was from the BEVM project. A bunch of people got this one, 3,000 Bitcoin wallets and 44,000 Ethereum or EVM wallets. Now, this is only for people that participated in their campaign in partnership with Binance, but if you were doing this, you can go and check to see if you got that allocation. All right, next up, if you are staking Mantle tokens, MNT tokens, currently you're earning shards for the Athena airdrop campaign, but it looks like they're going to have more campaigns moving forward. So the staking for MNT to earn the M shards ends on April 26th, but Mantle has now shared that there's going to be another installment on the Mantle Rewards Station for people that stake and lock up those MNT tokens. Okay, next, Parcel has officially launched their Perpetual Points Program leaderboard. So since the token actually launched, you were still accumulating points in the background, but nothing was actually ticking up on the dashboard. Now, if you go visit the platform, you can see your Perpetual Points ticking up and you can see your points, boosts, and multipliers as well. And then the only other thing I'll say for this is that if you hold Parcel tokens in your wallet, you'll get loyalty points boost snapshots based on the amount that you hold relative to the amount of TVL that you have on the platform. So I'm not sure if that's all they're doing with the Parcel token. I thought they were going to enable staking for it as well as for the HOA NFTs, but currently all they've shared is this loyalty points boost for holding the tokens in your wallet. All right, next up, if you are farming the Layer 0 airdrop and you stake STG tokens, you can now go vote on 2 new proposals. One of them is to actually launch Stargate V2. So that's probably an important proposal to vote on. And also, since this ends in 3 days and V2 is going live relatively shortly after that, this is your last chance actually to interact with Stargate V1. So if they have some sort of qualifiers or multipliers related to actually interacting with Stargate V1, you might want to get a couple of final transactions in over the next few days before they launch V2. Probably a good idea. Okay, next up, another airdrop opportunity you have is for Tavera. They just announced a $5 million fundraise, and this project is within the ZK Sync ecosystem. Now, this is a gaming platform that also has an NFT marketplace integrated with it, and you can get karma points or KP by playing their little games and doing a few things on the app here. So I'll leave a link to this down below, and there's definitely still time to do this if you want to try and get this airdrop. All right, and then 2 final things, a couple of Galaxy quests to do if you're interested in some new opportunities. Intent X has a Galaxy campaign on that's relatively underfarmed, not that many people following, not that many people completing it. This is a new perp dex, and they want you to create an account on the Mantle L2 if you want to complete this Galaxy quest, and then obviously interact with the platform. So this is what it looks like. Now, I don't farm many of these perp dex airdrops. I've faded a lot of the Ethereum ones because I felt I was kind of late to the party. I have been farming Zeta markets on Solana, but I might actually try this one out and see how it goes. And then the final thing that I wanted to share is this Raya airdrop opportunity. They have a campaign on right now for another 2 weeks or so. They have a decent amount of funding with backers, including Coinbase, and they've confirmed that there is going to be a token. So if you want to check this one out, I'll leave a link to this down below as well. All right, well, that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. As always, hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.